to our chapter meeting. Today is a special meeting that the board members decided that we should do a nice panel for everyone to kind of give a good wide range of what's going on right now, from cruises to tour companies, parks and resorts, from U.S. destinations as well. We're so excited to hear from them too, because that's obviously a top destination for Americans. As I keep entering people in, I'd love to kick it off with Jasmine from ASTA, and have a couple questions for you about ASTA and what has ASTA, some big wins that ASTA has won for all of us as members, and maybe a little bit about what we can do as members as well. I know I've been posting some stuff in our group to sign some petitions, but if Jasmine, you want to kind of speak more about what ASTA has done and what we can do as members as well. Oops, let me unmute you. Oops.
Okay, there we go. So the biggest ones that have happened, oh, am I muted? Oh, okay, I'm unmuted, good. The biggest ones that have happened thus far in the season, even starting in the very beginning, is that we lobbied to make sure that travel advisors and travel agencies were eligible for the economic stabilization loans that travel agencies were included. They're called ticketing agents by the lawmakers, but really that was just making sure that travel advisors were covered. In addition to that, we also made sure that those who are self-employed, considered independent advisors, were also covered in the unemployment benefits. And those were our biggest wins in the beginning, especially, and we're continuing to track all of that. So as the PPP rolled out and some of the other disaster loans and plans, just making sure that our members are included, using our connections with our members of Congress that we've established through legislative days. For those of you who do not know, ASTA's Legislative Day is once a year where we go up to Capitol Hill and we bring the issues that are most important to us and in the Senate. And so because we've been doing that for years and years, we've established relationships with them. And so when things like this come up, we are able to lobby them directly to help us with what's going on. So more information about what ASTA is doing, especially in regards to COVID-19 and all of the economic relief that's available, and more updates, you can go to www.asta.org/COVID-19. From that page, you can actually get to a members only page. So if you have specific questions, for example, at the bottom of that members only page, there is a link where you can ask questions directly to our advocacy and industry affairs team if you want to know more about employment benefits and unemployment relief and different things regarding the CARES Act, especially as we lobby. The CARES Act has been extended, and different parts of it have received either an extension. So if you want more information about any of that, again, that's www.asta.org/COVID-19. The other thing you can do, as far as I think Jessica said, how you can help with the mission. If you're not already receiving the Travel Agent Daily, please do reach out to myself or anybody on the ASTA team, or you can reach out to ASTA@asta.org to make sure you are receiving the Travel Advisor Daily. We call it the TAD for short. In that information, we do provide ways where you all can get involved. So for example, we have 2 or 3 actually grassroots campaigns that you guys can get involved on the federal level. We want the states to fix the different states' unemployment program. We're also lobbying for people to tell the governors, just state legislators, to act now to save travel advisors, and to tell Congress to resume passport processing. We realize that when people do want to travel again, they're going to need a passport to do so, but a lot of that was shut down. And so if you go to asta.org and you go to advocacy, underneath it says grassroots, and in that area You can click on any three of the ones that I just mentioned, and it'll tell you exactly what to do and who to send things to. You can add your personalized message. And that's just one way that you can get involved with ASTA. And then share that link with all of your travel advisor friends, because this is going to affect them as well, whether or not they're a member of ASTA or not. So this is just a good way for you to make your voice heard to your representatives, to make sure that they're paying attention to the things that are most important to you and to your business. With that, I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, or if Jessica, you had other questions for me, but that is what I had to go over based on your questions.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. And you can ask me, I'm your chapter president. On the travel advisor daily emails that we get have lots of great information from ASTA, as well as other travel industry news sources, kind of pulling the highlights of what's going on in our industry and to staying up to date. I know that I get all the emails, as I'm sure a lot of you might, between Travel Weekly and other reports, and they pick the best of the things that I would read. And I know some of my members have had some issues getting signed up on there, so if you do, please feel free to reach out to me because it's a really great resource. So thank you so much, and feel free, you can totally stay on if you are busy, which I'm sure you are. You can leave our panel, but I really wanted to kick it off with ASTA because that's why we're here, that's why we're a chapter, and thank you so much. We appreciate everything you guys are doing.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. With that said, we have lots of travel operators, so I'll do a little introduction. We have Stephanie from Kensington Tours. Steven over here is from Sandals Resorts. We have Lisa, who is with us from Universal Parks and Resorts. Carlos is here from Pleasant Holidays. I have Guido here, and he is representing Ciao Italy, which is great. We'll have some updates on what we can expect in Italy. And of course, Katie Rose from Carnival, who is on our board, and we're excited to have a representative from cruise lines to resorts and to our companies all here with us today. So I'll ask some questions to get things started and kind of pick out a couple people, and then you can kind of bounce off and respond. So main question, what does reopening look like for your company? And if we can start off actually with Lisa and then maybe down to Katie afterwards, since your openings happened. So Lisa, tell us, what does Universal look like right now?
Yes, well, this was perfect timing actually. So thank you so much for thinking of Universal and for having me today. And yeah, it is great timing. I mean, we opened our gates to all 3 theme parks on Friday. So, of course, just in time for the lovely weather that we just had this weekend gone in Orlando. If anyone doesn't know, we actually had some tornado warnings. So, as if COVID wasn't enough, we're dealing with the weather. But the good news is, of course, our gates are open. So we are welcoming our guests again to all 3 theme parks. We opened 6 of our hotels, and our next 2, Hotel 7 and 8, they're opening from July 1st. So we are in full operation. Obviously, the exception to that is, of course, we have reduced capacity. So that is a big element. Health and safety is, of course, the prominent concern. So everything is reduced capacity, all of our parks plus our hotels, just to make it, to give that element of social distancing. We have that marked out throughout our entire destination to keep space with people. We've a lot of new safety measures in place, obviously face coverings, hand sanitizing, temperature checks. We've added a lot of contactless options. So within the park, you can order mobile food on the app. You can do hotel text messaging. You can do virtual line for a lot of attractions. So we are really trying to reduce that buildup of crowds that people would probably think of with theme park. But again, the reduced capacity is really helping with that as well. So again, for any advisors who are on today and we're following, I mean, social media was pretty hectic last week. We had a soft opening for annual pass holders in advance, and then we opened to the public from last Friday. Social media has been very, very busy. A lot of Facebook Lives, a lot of blog posts about firsthand experiences. And my personal opinion is it was very, very positive. So it's all good indicators you know, really hoping that we are definitely going to pick back up.
That's awesome. Katie, what does reopening look like for Carnival?
So cruise lines are working with organizations like CLIA, the CDC, WHO, and other health organizations and daily. So right now we're scheduled to operate cruises beginning August 1st with 8 ships. So we're starting in phases, if you will. And we're focused on our 3 largest port embarkations, Miami and early September. That said, these timelines may still be impacted depending on many factors, including ports of call, CDC guidance, etc. Oh, Jessica, it looks like you're muted.
Sorry about that. Very good. And how is capacity? I know that we were trying to book some things, and so is it 50% capacity, 75% capacity? And like you said, it's going in phases. Is there a strict dates on that?
So phases as far as ships go. So we're starting with 8 ships sailing. As far as, I have seen that the ships that are maybe early August, even, it just depends on the sailing. I think that we are seeing some restrictions as far as revenue management goes, but I don't know if we have a specific number of what the restrictions are per sailing yet.
Got it. So moving on to Sandals. Sandals has started their reopening, and you guys are in phases depending on islands. Tell us more. What does your reopening look like?
Yes, we're really excited. We're getting closer and closer to being open and finally getting our guests back to the resorts. Last week, Antigua opened up, so we were able to reopen Sandals Grand Antigua, and everything has been working and going wonderfully. I've been seeing the guests posting on their social medias and tagging it with the Antigua Island and Sandals Grand Antigua, so that's great. In the next week, Jamaica is going to be reopening. And shortly after that, the rest of the islands and resorts will be up and running. We're really excited. July 1st is going to be a big date. Several resorts, several islands reopening. And in terms of the resorts, Sandals really wasn't, we never had an issue with social distancing. All of our resorts combined, 18 resorts, we don't even have 6,500 rooms. So you can compare that to one hotel in Vegas has more than that. So I've never been in a situation at Sandals where social distancing would be an issue, except if I was crowded around a bar or a piano bar at night singing along. Other than that, the resorts are really spread out, and we're so ready and excited to reopen.
That thought came to. So what about like the bar areas and the club areas? How is that?
They've on the video I'm going to show to you in a little bit. They've taken out, instead of having the bar with 12 seats lined up, they're going to be paired at Sandals because it's a couples resorts. They'll be paired in seats of 2, and then have social distancing between each paired set of seats.
Got
at
it.
A bar, in a bar setting.
What do your transfers look like? Do you have big groups still going into those transfer buses, or is that going to be more private?
They are definitely reducing the amount of guests that are going in each transfer van, if they don't have their own private transportation. The vehicles are being sanitized before and after each guest, and I think they have an 18-point system on each vehicle that they go through and check before and after each guest.
Okay, very good. I'd like Caribbean opening up, and at the same time, Italy is opening up, which is very exciting, but obviously a high number of COVID as America has. So Guido, tell us a little bit about how Italy is doing, what reopening looks like, and what Americans can expect when they can travel there, when they will.
I wish I could answer your last question, which is the most important one. But the situation is a little bit more complicated than any Caribbean resort, of course. So as you all know, Italy went through a lot. We spent the last 3 months in a very strict lockdown, and but it worked. It worked because right now the situation is much better, much improved. There are very few cases of COVID every day, and it is decreasing day by day. So on June 3rd, the official, the last lockdown within Italy has ended. So this means that the Italians can travel from region to region free without any special permit. On June 15, it's another important date because it's when European citizens will be allowed to travel in Italy without any quarantine or without any reason, just for tourism. Okay, so this is a big day. At the same time, museums are starting to reopen slowly with all the restrictions, and so you know, slowly we are starting from the month of July actually to reinstate some of our tours. For example, in Rome, we will have I believe 50% of the tours that we would have in normal season going with much less people. So it's going to be a trial period. And as the situation develops and gets better, of course, we will be adding more tours, more activities, and we want to go back to normal as soon as possible. The big question is when they will reopen to non-EU travelers, which means to the United States. Well, there are different opinions, speculation, nobody really knows, but what we believe is that after the June 15 reopening, we will see how the situation will go with the Europeans. And then after probably a couple of weeks, they will make a decision on a date. So we assume sometimes in the middle of July, maybe the end of July, we hope there will be a final reopening to everybody. So right now we still have bookings, a few bookings, I have to say, for August. We have more for September and October. So we are suggesting whoever can and whoever, of course, agrees to wait, just to wait for the September and October travel, because we should be fine by then.
Got it. As far as EU travelers coming into Italy, what have you heard that they would expect as far as flying in? Are they going to be checking temperatures? Are they going to be doing that within the hotels there as well, or just at the airport? Do you know what that looks like?
Yeah. So at the airport will be the first check, of course, at the departure airport. And at arrival, I'm not sure 100% what will be the rule, because, you know, they assume that they have been checked when they board the plane. So there is really no reason to check again when they arrive. Otherwise, it would slow down the process. However, the hotels, they will check temperature. They are trying to do as much as possible, e-check-in. So asking clients to email all the documents in advance. So the least contact as possible, which is a common sense.
Right.
For example, in the hotels also, breakfast will not be a buffet anymore, so
Right.
it will be served at the tables. They are trying to make schedules for not to have all the guests at the same time. So you would have to reserve your time slot in the evening to go for breakfast, and things like that. Sanitization, so they will clean as much as they can as soon as the clients leave, before the other clients arrive. There will be, of course, the hand gel dispensers everywhere. So
Right.
all these things that we all know that will just make the clients feel more safe and comfortable. The priority is always the safety. Safety
is now the new
driving any decision.
For safety is not just luxury.
I didn't hear, sorry.
Safety is everything, right?
I couldn't hear, Jessica, sorry.
I said safety is the new luxury.
That's right, yes. Yes. That's
Well, thank
number
you.
one priority.
I appreciate your insight. You know, to be honest, I thought that you see headlines, right? The news media is all about just the headlines, and you see a lot of headlines that Italy's reopening for tourism, and Americans think that that means them, and necessarily it does not. So hopefully we will see you in the fall. But like you said,
can go.
You can go. You can go.
No, see, you can go, but you will be quarantined for 2 weeks when
2
you
weeks.
arrive. So yes, so that's
Got
still is the rule. Yeah.
Understood. Well, thank you. We'll come back over to you. I think Stephanie, I'd like to ask some things about Kensington, because Kensington obviously has tours all over. So what does, I mean, I don't know if reopening is the right word. Where are your tours at as far as cancellations, and where do you see coming back as far as tourism goes?
So it's a great question. I mean, it's definitely a little bit, I think we're a little more unique in terms of what it means to reopen, but it's important for us too, because people do want to travel safely and they want to know that they're protected. So we send people to over 100 countries throughout the world. So that means that every part of the world will reopen differently, and travel to those places will really commence when the advisories allow it. So our partner engagement team has been working tirelessly since this all started to kind of understand what that looks like. Kensington normally vets all of our ground operators and our private guides, but we're taking that a step above and beyond now. So we're making sure we pass along requirements for each, not only destination, but also the in-destination guides and ground operators that we're working with. We're passing along all of that information to our destination experts, and our destination experts are broken out regionally, so they specialize in a particular region, so they really know the ins and outs of that area. Many of them are from these areas and they have firsthand knowledge. And something we're offering to our travel advisor partners is if you have clients who are inquiring, or they'd like a quote and they're not really sure, we're more than happy, our destination experts are more than happy to join in on a call at your discretion and kind of let them know what to expect in destination. Let them know about quarantines that exist. We don't expect you to know, I mean, you're selling the entire world. We have the benefit of these people who specialize in regions, and they can really have specific details and information and knowledge of what it means. And then in regards to opening as Kensington, I think it's important to note everything we do is luxury private guided. So we already carry a lot of remote lodging options, more nature accommodations. We have private yachting, which I think lends itself to that whole idea of social distancing. So if clients want to be outside of the city in a more remote area, you know, any of the tours they do, they'll never be with groups, small or large. Everything we do is private guided, which really speaks to the safety and that personal one-on-one experience, and really not being concerned with traveling in large groups or crowds. So I think we're already doing that just based on what we do normally. And we have taken that a step beyond to make sure and do some additional vetting with our partners in destination. So.
That's awesome. I love the idea of having a call with one of your destination experts and the client to give them kind of a better idea, because it is a lot of information coming from every country, as we all know.
And it's changing constantly, so yeah.
Changing constantly, yes, indeed. You mentioned some great things that I kind of want to bring to you, and then maybe down to Carlos as well. Accommodations in nature, yachting, villas, home rentals have been my number one ask as an advisor. Are those things that you guys have in your product line, and how do we find out more? And we'll start with Stephanie and then head down.
We do. So Oh, sorry. So the
Right.
return of travel they're predicting, and we're kind of seeing this as well, is luxury and domestic travel will return first. And the timing with this was great. In January, actually, we launched a North America product, so US and Canada, national parks, and our yachting program, which accommodates anywhere from 4 to 12 adults. So we are seeing a huge demand when quotes started to return. That's what the quoting was for. People are, I think, for not only safety, and obviously we can't really go many places right now. I think there are also, some people are committed to building the US economy and traveling more locally. So, so we do have that available for people. And what's really nice is sometimes it's hard to see your national parks on a 4 or 5 star beyond level. We do offer that. We have that available. We have private guided experiences where maybe a family of 4 or 5 can go to alternate entrances through a park and avoid crowds and avoid you know, large groups of people and see it in a very personal, special way. Maybe see it off hours. Just doing things differently and outside of the box, and of course giving clients the deeper meaning to some of these things that they're seeing. So
right, the experience is definitely always number one. Carlos, why don't we take it down to you? We had a great discussion on the phone the other day. Tell us about some of those kind of home accommodations and things that Pleasant
Well,
offers.
with our upscale brand journeys, we have private homes and villas in Italy, Greece, throughout the Caribbean, Mexico, Belize, Costa Rica, Panama, throughout the Hawaiian Islands. And I even hear there's even more coming, like Australia and Dubai. So, but we also have, with our Pleasant brand, we also have a number of condos in Hawaii and Florida, or hotels that have full kitchens in them. So there's a lot of different ways if someone wants to take a vacation but do their own cooking and the like, if they want to do it that way. On a guided vacation, we don't do guided vacations except one place, and that's Costa Rica. And we offer 4 different ones, and the biggest group size is about 15. They operate every other Saturday year-round except Christmas, but we will do a private one for 2 people.
And when will those group ones be going out? Is that something?
Every other week, every other Saturday year-round except Christmas.
Got it. So Costa Rica is open for U.S. travelers at this point, or they're still?
Well, no, I'm just talking about when they
do open.
Yeah, when we do open, those operate, and one of them even operates every week for those guided vacations. That's the only place we have guided vacation. One thing though, we didn't talk about, and I just wanted to bring it up.
Sure.
I've noticed a lot, this is Carlos Banks speaking, not Pleasant. A lot of the airlines have taken a lot of the capacities off, like American Airlines and whatever, and they're not bringing those planes back on. They're, in a sense, junking them. So they're parking them out in the desert. There's going to be later on a shortage of airline seats. So I say book now or forever hold your peace, because prices are reasonable right now. But with the extra cost of the virus and the like, prices are going to go up, and then there's a supply and demand issue. Also, another thing is the hotel cost. If they think the prices are going to go down, because they want to get people, they might go down shortly, but in reality, several hotels have to keep their, by law, have to keep their rooms vacant for 24 hours or even 72 hours in Aruba, as an example.
Yeah.
And so they will have less than a 50% occupancy sometimes. And you can't make money operating at 50% unless you raise your rates. So
Right.
Book now or forever hold your peace.
Great advice, indeed. We just have a few minutes left, so if any of the members out there have any questions, you can just type that into the chat box. I do see a couple things that I'll throw
I do
out.
have one thing, Jessica, if you don't mind. For all the health workers and everybody that's helped us out, we are offering a 10% discount across the board for military, fire, police, first responders. That includes the doctors and nurses.
That's awesome. You told me about that last week, and that's great for everybody to know. I don't see any questions, but if there are any, I will ask a final question for everybody. And kind of off of what Carlos said, some predictions as what you see in your future post-COVID. We talked a little bit about temperature checks, regional destinations, but what do you see your company doing exceptionally for travelers in the rest of 2020 and into 2021? What does that look like? Why don't we start with Lisa again? We'll go back around from the beginning.
Well, I think for us, you know, again, we are one of the first to reopen. So we now have our gates open. And I do think, you know, we're learning day by day, hour by hour. So I think again, there's two focuses. Of course, health and safety is number one, but then guest enjoyment is always going to be our focus as well. So we want to make sure that they're going hand in hand, that you can confidently send your clients to Universal. Not only will they have a safe experience, but they're going to make those memories. They're going to have a great experience. And that's our whole goal. It's the goal we've always had all along, and we're going to make sure that we're sticking to that even through our reopening. You know, we're on the ground now, so we're seeing those guests come through the gate. We're making what adjustments we need, and we are delivering a good experience. We've had great feedback already, and our aim is to continue to improve. And then we will obviously work with our local government, our different advisories, and as things change, as restrictions lift, we will of course be very reactive to that as we go forward. But I do think we're confident. I mean, all the research is showing that, you know, clients are looking for something possibly domestic, a lot of drive vacations. So obviously Florida has a lot of states close by that can be a driving vacation. So the signs are positive, and I think the feedback so far has been positive, and our goal is to just continue to build on that.
That's awesome. Yep. I actually have a specific question for Guido before we go off air here. Guido, with Ciao Italy, I think from Carlos talking about some guided tours as well as private with Costa Rica. Does Ciao Italy offer those private tours as well as groups? And when are your groups starting back up? Is that in August as well?
Yes, so we definitely specialize in private small groups. We've been doing this over the past several years. So that will be an easy transition. So not much is going to change about that. As far as larger groups, we don't know. Right now, we are operating we will be operating in July the larger groups as small groups, because there is not going to be large crowds, first of all, and also because of museum accessibility and sites. You know, for example, in the Colosseum, you cannot go with groups larger than 14 people. You have 10 people for the Vatican. I believe 14 for Pompeii, and so on. So obviously, larger groups, it will be a while before they come back. And we are also thinking, if we do have a large group, we can still manage and maybe split the group into and just have a semi-private experience.
Perfect. Well, I'm sorry that we're kind of running out of time here, guys. I really appreciate everyone coming to our meeting, and we'll do another one of these possibly next week if anyone's game to come back. I do have some other suppliers who are interested in joining us that didn't today, so we'll be in touch with all of our